When you're floating in that intoxicating cloud of new romance, your judgment becomes clouded by hormones and hope. But here's what you need to understand about cultivating a masculine man. It all starts with recognizing his relationship with responsibility from day one. A truly masculine man doesn't shy away from accountability. He embraces it as his core identity and fundamental way of moving through the world. You cannot ignore the red flags of irresponsibility and expect them to magically transform later through the power of your love or influence. When a man consistently avoids taking ownership of his commitments, his word, or his actions, you're witnessing his fundamental character in action. This isn't about perfection. None of us are perfect. It's about recognizing patterns of behavior. Does he keep his promises to others? Does he follow through on plans without you having to remind him constantly? When challenges arise, does he step forward with solutions or step back and wait for someone else to handle things? The mistake so many women make is believing they can love someone into responsibility. You start making excuses for his lack of follow-through, rationalizing his broken promises, and gradually taking over the tasks he should be handling himself. But here's the truth. By covering for his irresponsibility, you're actually enabling his retreat into feminine energy while pushing yourself into an exhausting masculine role that will drain your life force. A responsible man will naturally want to protect and provide, even in small ways during the early stages of dating. He'll insist on planning dates, handling logistics, and taking charge of situations that matter. He won't need you to mother him or manage his basic adult functions. When you meet a man who consistently demonstrates reliability in his word and actions, you've found someone with the capacity for true masculine leadership. Remember, responsibility isn't just about big gestures. It's revealed in daily choices and small commitments. How does he treat commitments to friends? Does he show up when he says he will? Is his word actually his bond? One of the most damaging patterns I see women fall into is becoming their partner's career counselor, job hunter, and professional lifeline when he faces unemployment. Listen carefully. Finding him a job is not your responsibility, and taking this burden on will destroy the masculine-feminine dynamic you're trying to cultivate in your relationship. Yes, depression and discouragement are real challenges that deserve compassion and understanding. But there's a crucial difference between supporting someone through difficulty and becoming their solution. When you start browsing job boards for him, updating his resume, or networking on his behalf, you've crossed the line from supportive partner into enabling mother figure. History shows us that men can rise to incredible challenges when they must. During World War II, men who were catatonic with depression in mental hospitals got up and drove fire engines when their communities needed them. A man's sense of purpose and duty can overcome tremendous obstacles, but only when he feels the full weight of that responsibility himself. Your role during his career struggles is to believe in his capability while maintaining your boundaries. Express confidence in his abilities without taking action for him. Say things like, "I believe you'll find something perfect for your skills," rather than, "I found 3 jobs you should apply for." This distinction matters enormously because it keeps the responsibility squarely where it belongs. With him, when you become his personal job hunting service, you inadvertently communicate that you don't trust him to handle this fundamental adult responsibility. Worse, you make it comfortable for him to remain passive while you exhaust yourself playing multiple roles in his life. A masculine man wants to solve his own professional challenges because that's where his pride and identity live. If he's truly dealing with depression or other mental health challenges, the solution isn't you managing his career. It's him getting appropriate professional help while maintaining ownership of his professional life. Support his healing journey, but don't mistake enabling for love. Here's a harsh truth that might save your future. Lending money to a man you're not married to is one of the fastest ways to destroy both your relationship and your self-respect. The moment you become his financial solution, you've fundamentally altered the dynamic from romantic partnership to parent-child relationship, And recovering from that shift is incredibly difficult. There's a massive difference between supporting a proven provider during temporary hardship and bankrolling someone who treats you like their personal ATM. If you've been married for years and he's consistently provided for your family, then stepping up during his crisis is appropriate reciprocity. But if he's asking you for money while you're still figuring out if he's marriage material, that's a red flag the size of Texas waving directly in your face. So many women get trapped in this pattern because they mistake financial rescue for love and support. They think that proving their loyalty through money will somehow inspire him to step up and take responsibility. But here's what actually happens. He gets comfortable with you as his financial backup plan, and you start feeling resentful and used while questioning your own judgment. Why is he asking you for $500 instead of driving for a rideshare company? Why isn't he starting a small business with friends or finding creative solutions to his money problems? If your single mother could raise multiple children on one income, why can't a grown man figure out how to cover his basic expenses? The pattern typically starts small. Maybe he needs help with rent one month. You want to be supportive, so you help, but then it's another month and another. Suddenly, you realize you've become his financial plan rather than his romantic partner. You're working extra hours to cover his shortfalls while he's become comfortable letting you carry the load. If you can't be direct about saying no, then create boundaries through other commitments. Support your family, save for your future, invest in your own goals. Your money is your security and your freedom. Don't hand it over to someone who hasn't earned the right to depend on you financially through marriage and proven commitment. Women have an almost irresistible urge to help, fix, and improve the men in their lives. But here's what most don't realize. Constantly giving unsolicited advice is one of the quickest ways to emasculate your partner and position yourself as his mother rather than his lover and equal partner. In the masculine world, men rarely offer advice unless specifically asked. When a man faces a problem, he'll typically exhaust his own solutions before seeking input from others. And when he does ask for advice, he goes to someone he respects in that particular area. This process preserves his sense of autonomy and competence while maintaining his masculine identity. When you constantly offer suggestions about what he should do next, how he should handle situations, or ways he could improve his approach, you're essentially communicating that you don't trust his judgment. Even if your advice is excellent and well-intentioned, the delivery undermines his confidence and pushes him into a passive, feminine energy that kills attraction. Think about the couples you know where the woman constantly directs, corrects, and manages her partner. How does that dynamic feel to observe? Usually, you'll notice the man becomes either resentfully rebellious or completely passive. Neither response creates the kind of masculine energy that generates attraction and respect between partners. This pattern often stems from anxiety and a desire to control outcomes. You want things to go well for him and for your relationship, so you try to manage and direct the situation. But control isn't love, even though it often masquerades as care. What feels like helpful guidance to you feels like micromanagement to him. The alternative is learning to trust his process, even when it's different from yours or takes longer than you'd prefer. Instead of jumping in with solutions, try asking questions that help him think through the situation himself. What do you think would work best? Or, how are you feeling about your options? Shows interest without taking over his decision-making process. Watch what happens when you stop offering unsolicited advice and instead become a supportive listener. You'll likely find that people gravitate toward you rather than avoiding your well-meaning but overwhelming input. If you find yourself making most of the decisions in your relationship, from dinner choices to vacation plans to daily schedules, you need to ask yourself this crucial question. Do I want to be making these decisions for the rest of my life? Because here's how masculine psychology works. If you consistently take charge of decisions, he'll gladly let you continue doing so indefinitely. Many women fall into decision-making overdrive because they're naturally organized, have strong preferences, or work at a faster pace than their partners. You might genuinely enjoy planning and organizing, but there's a difference between taking the lead on things you care about and managing every aspect of your shared life together. The problem isn't just that constant decision-making is exhausting. It's that it prevents your partner from developing his own leadership muscles. When you always swoop in to organize, plan, and decide, you rob him of opportunities to step up and take charge. Over time, this creates a dynamic where you become resentful of carrying all the mental load, while he becomes comfortable being passive. Some decisions naturally fall to the person who cares most about the outcome. If you love interior design and he's indifferent, then taking charge of home decor makes sense. But if you find yourself planning every date, choosing every restaurant, organizing every social gathering, and managing every detail of your shared life, you've crossed into controlling territory. The solution requires intentional restraint and trust in his process. When decisions need to be made, resist the urge to immediately jump in with your solution. Give him space to think, plan, and choose. Yes, he might choose differently than you would. Yes, it might take longer than if you just handled it yourself. But this patience is essential for maintaining healthy masculine-feminine polarity. Practice having go-with-the-flow days, where you consciously step back and let him take the lead. Notice your urge to control, correct, or optimize his choices, and breathe through it. Remember that having everything perfect according to your standards is less important than having a partnership where both people get to exercise their natural energies. Masculine and feminine energy isn't about gender. It's about complementary forces that create natural attraction and balance in relationships. When you understand these energies, you can consciously choose which one to embody based on what serves your relationship and your own well-being in any given moment. Masculine energy is characterized by direction, action, providing, protecting, and taking responsibility. It's the energy that says, "I've got this," and moves forward with purpose and decision. Feminine energy flows, receives, nurtures, feels, and responds. It's the energy that says, "I trust you," and creates space for others to step into their power. The problems arise when these energies become imbalanced in your relationship. When you're constantly in masculine energy, making decisions, solving problems, taking action, providing solutions, you become exhausted and often resentful. You might find yourself wondering why you have to handle everything, why he doesn't step up, or why you feel more like roommates than lovers. Similarly, when a man retreats into feminine energy, being passive, indecisive, and dependent, he often loses his sense of purpose and confidence. This isn't anyone's fault, but it creates a dynamic where neither person feels fulfilled in their natural expression, and attraction naturally diminishes. Many women today are stuck in masculine energy by necessity or habit. You've learned to be independent, capable, and self-sufficient, which are valuable qualities that serve you well in many areas of life. But in intimate relationships, staying constantly in this energy can prevent the natural polarity that creates attraction and sexual tension. The goal isn't to become helpless or lose your capabilities. It's to create space for your partner to step into his masculine, while you get to rest in your feminine. This might mean consciously choosing not to solve every problem, not making every decision, and not managing every detail of your shared life. When you're in your feminine energy, you become magnetic rather than managing. You attract rather than chase. You inspire rather than control. This shift isn't about becoming weak. It's about becoming powerful in a completely different way that allows your partner to be powerful in his natural way. Setting high standards isn't about being difficult or demanding. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to accept less than what you deserve. When you maintain clear standards about how you expect to be treated, you naturally attract partners who are capable of meeting those standards while filtering out those who aren't ready for that level of relationship. The biggest mistake women make is lowering their standards in hopes of making themselves more appealing or accessible. They think that being low maintenance or easygoing will make them more attractive, but the opposite is actually true. When you have no standards, you signal that you don't value yourself highly, which makes it difficult for others to value you highly either. High standards should encompass both character and behavior. Character standards include integrity, reliability, kindness, and emotional maturity. Behavioral standards include how he communicates with you, how he treats other people, how he handles conflict, and how he shows up in the relationship consistently over time. This doesn't mean creating an impossible checklist or expecting perfection from anyone. It means knowing what you absolutely will and won't accept in a partnership. For example, you might decide that you won't accept inconsistent communication, disrespectful behavior, or someone who doesn't follow through on commitments. The key is maintaining these standards without becoming rigid or controlling. You're not trying to change anyone. You're simply deciding what kind of relationship dynamic you want to participate in. When someone consistently fails to meet your reasonable standards, you have valuable information about their capacity for the kind of partnership you're seeking. Men actually respect women who have clear boundaries and standards. A masculine man wants to rise to meet the expectations of a woman he values. When you maintain your standards with grace and confidence, you give him the opportunity to step up and show you his best self, rather than accepting mediocrity. Remember that having standards also means you must embody the same qualities you're seeking. If you want respect, be respectful. If you want reliability, be reliable. Authentic attraction isn't built through people-pleasing, over-giving, or trying to prove your worth. It's created through maintaining healthy boundaries that allow both people to show up as their best, most genuine selves. When you understand this principle, you stop exhausting yourself trying to earn love and start naturally inspiring it. Boundaries aren't walls designed to keep people out. They're guidelines that help others understand how to treat you and what kind of relationship dynamic you're creating. When you maintain boundaries around your time, energy, resources, and emotional space, you demonstrate self-respect that naturally commands respect from others. Many women struggle with boundaries because they've been taught that love means sacrificing themselves for others. They think that saying no, asking for what they need, or refusing to accept poor treatment makes them selfish or difficult. But the opposite is true. Healthy boundaries create the safety and respect necessary for genuine intimacy to flourish. Think about the people you're most attracted to and respect most deeply. Chances are, they're individuals who know their worth, communicate their needs clearly, and don't compromise their values for others' approval. They're pleasant to be around because they're not resentful, exhausted, or constantly giving from an empty cup. When you maintain boundaries in your romantic relationships, you allow your partner to love the real you, rather than some depleted version of yourself who's trying to earn affection through overgiving. You also create space for him to step up and contribute meaningfully to the relationship, rather than passively receiving your endless efforts. Healthy boundaries include protecting your time and energy, not accepting disrespectful communication, maintaining your own interests and friendships, and refusing to take responsibility for other people's emotions or problems. These aren't selfish acts. They're necessary for sustainable, healthy relationships that actually fulfill both people. The most magnetic people are those who are genuinely happy and fulfilled in their own lives. When you maintain boundaries that protect your well-being, you remain attractive because you're not desperately seeking validation or completion from others. You become someone others want to be around, rather than someone they feel obligated to manage or rescue. The final key to cultivating a masculine man is learning to embrace your own feminine energy fully. This means releasing the need to control every outcome, trusting in natural timing, and allowing space for others to step into their power. When you master this art, you become irresistibly magnetic while feeling more relaxed and fulfilled in your daily life. Feminine energy is not weakness. It's a different kind of strength that's been undervalued in our modern world. It's the power of water that can carve through rock over time, the strength of the moon that moves entire oceans, and the force of nature that creates and nurtures all life. When you embrace this energy, you stop fighting upstream and start flowing with natural currents. Many women resist embracing their feminine energy because they fear it means becoming helpless or losing their independence. But true feminine power is about being so secure in yourself that you can trust others, so confident in your worth that you don't need to prove it constantly, and so connected to your intuition that you don't need to control every detail. Practical ways to embrace feminine flow include taking time for pleasure and beauty, trusting your intuition, expressing your emotions authentically, receiving help gracefully, and allowing others to take care of you sometimes. It means saying, "I don't know, what do you think?" instead of always having the answer ready. When you're in your feminine flow, decision-making becomes easier because you're not forcing solutions. You're allowing them to emerge naturally. Relationships become more harmonious because you're not trying to manage everyone else's experience. Life becomes more enjoyable because you're present to beauty, connection, and joy, rather than constantly focused on tasks and outcomes. This doesn't mean becoming passive or losing your voice. Feminine energy can be incredibly powerful and assertive when necessary, but it operates from flow rather than force, attraction rather than pursuit, and trust rather than control. When you embody this energy authentically, you create space for masculine energy to rise up and meet you. The goal is finding your natural rhythm between masculine and feminine energies, using each when appropriate, but having a home base in your feminine where you can rest, receive, and simply be. From this place, you become the kind of woman who naturally inspires others to show up as their best selves without having to manage or manipulate them into it.